بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين. اللهم ربنا أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم أرنا حقائق الأشياء كما هي. ربنا زدنا علما وعملا وإخلاصا يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصر أولياءك في مشارق الأرض ومغاربها، اللهم سدد رميهم وسدد خطاهم وسدد رأيهم وألف بين قلوبهم وأصلح ذات بينهم وانصرهم على عدوك وعدوهم إنك على كل شيء قدير. اللهم فرج عنا وعن إخواننا في مشارق الأرض ومغاربها. اللهم نفس كربنا وكربهم وثبت أقدامنا وأقدامهم والطف بنا وبهم يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى وسلم على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وآله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. آمين آمين يا رب العالمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. We're starting where we left yesterday. So we were doing this part, the Zeno held that movement is only a deceptive appearance. So we focus on this deceptives. I don't know whether Zeno held that or no, held that the movement was deceptive appearance or not, or just appearance. But there's a crucial distinction between deceptive appearance and appearance. Not every appearance is deceptive. Some appearances are deceptive. So that's important to understand. And that reality is one and immutable. Now here he is using reality and deceptive and then unreality of movement. Then he claims that the unreality of movement means the unreality of an independent space. Let's dwell a bit on what reality means and what it is contrasted to, or should be contrasted to. Obviously, unreality is the opposite of reality, but that's not the only opposite. Reality, the opposite of reality is ideality as well. And the further question is, what do we mean by reality? Reality can be by reality we can mean existence, for example. In existence or being has different levels. So, for example, the pen in my hand is real. Concepts in my mind are real as well, in a way, but their existence is different from each other. What exists in my mind and what exists outside is different. For example, there are a lot of things which exist in my mind which don't exist outside, or so, or at least some would claim anyway. So it's important to dwell on these issues here, the concept of reality. So let us talk a bit about it. So let's start with reality. What's the dictionary meaning of reality? The dictionary meaning of reality is, for example, according to this dictionary, I think it's Oxford, the state of things, at least this is one of the meaning, the state of things as they actually exist. Actually exist. although will say haqiqat-e-wujudi, haqiqat, that's what reality is, haqiqat. The state of things as they actually exist, as opposed to as opposed to as opposed to an idealistic or notional idea of them. So by idealistic probably means whoever wrote this, idealistic, how they should exist. So that's different from how they are. I guess that, and then notional mean, for example, notion is just concept. So for example, my pen as it exists, but my concept of my pen, for example, they both exist, but their existence is of different types. So what actually exists, like maybe concretely or outside, that's reality. What actually exists. That's one dictionary meaning. Or the state or quality of having existence or substance. So that's just, in this second meaning, reality is just the equal existence, synonym of existence almost. So the first one, the state of things that they actually exist. We look at the examples given of that. A thing that is actually experienced or seen, especially when this is unpleasant. So that's the reality. Another example is the harsh realities of life in a farming communities. And the second meaning is a thing that exists in fact, having previously only existed in one's mind. Okay, this is the second one. So in my mind, there's a plan of going from place A to B, but when I actually go from A to B, then so this is plan in my, but this movement or this plan actually exists, I guess. So a thing that exists in fact, the reality here is almost synonymous to factual, having previously only existed in one's mind, having previously only existed in one's mind. The quality of being life. So we want to make the dream a reality. So your dream house. So you dream about a certain house and you buy a house and you renovate it. So that's the actual house. So that's one thing as another meaning of reality. The quality of being lifelike, the reality of some things, some details, lifelike. More the state or quality of having existence or substance. Youth when death has no reality. They don't think death is actually going to happen. And obviously more recent use of reality is against virtuality, virtual. So reality TV, a reality show. That's one use. So reality also is contrasted with virtuality, virtual, like online or on the web, etc. Now, Oxford Dictionary also gives this philosophical meaning, at least one of it. Philosophy, existence that is absolute. No, what absolute is? Self-sufficient or objective. So it can be anything. Absolute, self-sufficient, or objective. Obviously, self-sufficient is a relative term always, because really self-sufficient things, probably if they exist. Like God is really self-sufficient. Everything is else is not self-sufficient. But when we say chair is self-sufficient, we just say self-sufficient in a relative terms, that it is self-sufficient in a way in which color of the chair is not self-sufficient. Color cannot exist on its own, at least not according to most philosophers. But chair can exist on its own. So the existence, color exists and chair exists, but chair's existence is self-sufficient in a way in which color's existence is not self-sufficient. And objective is used in contrast to subjective. So there are a lot of, or subject to human decisions or conventions. So there are certain things which are subjective, that is subject to human. So we construct maybe uh, in organization. So organization is in a way it's a strange example, but subjective in a way in which chair is not subjective, I guess, or chair is subjective in a way in which mountains are not subjective. Chair depends on human planning, etc. I don't know what this. So objective and not subject to human decisions or conventions. Um, so in that sense, social customs are subjective. So this is one way of understanding subjective. Subjective have many, in a way in which, for example, water is not subjective. So water is uh, an objective reality in a way in which human, or my thoughts, for example, doesn't have objective. So because they depend on my thinking, etc. Okay, so now the word reality in English comes from Latin, I think. Yeah, according to reality is a word with Latin pedigree. So reality, it comes from realis, which means relating. So it's I think it must have some. Um, I'm not a Latinist, but it looks like has some relation with res. Meaning res means things. Yeah. Um, things. So realis mean related to things. So that also tells you it's a very the conception of reality is very thing centered. So anything which is not a thing or ding is not reality. In this, at least, etymological sense, and from there in English it comes real. Um, and in Urdu, Arabic, Persian, reality is obviously haqiqat, which is not a thing, because haqiqat is related to haq, and as we know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-haq. So haq is also truth in a way, something, but haq also has a meaning of something factual. Factual doesn't need to be a thing, it can be anything. Anything. In Arabic, we have haqiqat. Obviously, it's an Arabic word which comes to Urdu. But and obviously, both in Urdu, Farsi, Urdu or Farsi, it's the same thing, really, in this context. But in Arabic, waqi', or waqi' in Arabic, and waqi'a in Urdu and Persian, which can mean event, but it can also mean waqi', mean what, the fact. Waqi' can mean the fact, or haqiqa. Al-waqi'. So in English we say in reality. Yeah. In Arabic we say fil waqi'. In fact, in Urdu, fil waqi' is used as it is. And in fact, one of the Mauritanian scholars has said something like inkarul waqai, or inkarul waqai. So waqai is plural of waqi'. Inkarul waqai mahalu. In some way, it is impossible to deny the reality or the facts. So there's generally people think that impossibility and possibility only relates to logical things or logical propositions. But here there's a concept of factual possibility and impossibility. For example, if you want to pass through a wall, you can't deny that wall like that. I mean, you might deny, but if you try to pass through it, it will tell you that it exists. So in that sense, inkarul waqai mahal. So fil waqi' in reality is used in Urdu, used in fil waqi' is used in Arabic, obviously, and obviously in fil waqi', I'm sure in classic Persian we use it. I don't know much about current Persian usage in Iran or Afghanistan or Tajikistan. So when I talk about Persian, that's like Persian of Imam Ghazali or Sadi, which we have a tradition of in the subcontinent. In Turkish, for example, just I do this for fun. I don't have any expertise in this. It's just my they call novice linguist. In Turkish, they say gerçeklik. Gerçeklik. My Turkish pronunciation is not very good. Gerçeklik. Lik is just what we haki. So that's ta hakikat. What ta does in Turkish is done by lik here. And the real word for the real or the fact is gerçek. Now, I don't know its etymology, but the dictionary I have is, I mean, I can look at, if I had to, I can look at other books, but I'm just trying to rely on my intuition. So it sounds to me, it's the gerçek, gerçe, Persian gerçe. Or in Urdu we will say agarche, or garche we say in Urdu too. And apparently in Ottoman Turkish they have karchek. Now I don't remember what this, if this gaf in, this must be gaf in Ottoman. I'm not sure. I would have to look at my books. So it seems like garchek means garche, or which can mean in fact garche, garche, magarche, garche. Okay, I think that's enough of linguistic. Now let's go back to the text. So when he's saying that the unreality of movement means the unreality of an independent space. So firstly, we didn't agree with Iqbal on that every appearance is deceptive. And so if we don't agree that the appearance of motion is deceptive, necessarily deceptive, then we don't have to agree that it is unreal. Because unreality in this would mean it's not factual, isn't it? That's what most of the linguistic things and the philosophical thing was that. What was the philosophical thing? The philosophical one was that existence that is absolute, self-sufficient, objective, and not subject to human decision or conventions. The movement, in a sense, is subject to human convention, etc. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't have objectivity at all. And for sure, movement is not self-sufficient. At least most movements are not self-sufficient. But that's also relative. So it's not sure in what sense motion is unreal, even if it is a phenomenal. In actuality, it's more than that. So the unreality of movement means the unreality of an independent space. I don't know how that would follow, because there can be independent space, absolute space, for example, and there is no movement. At least no movement in a way in which it is absolute or self-sufficient, for example, or objective in a way that it's not dependent on the causality of a subject, be it human or some subject which is, beyond human. So these are some, of the things which. But next time, inshallah, we will look at the philosophical meaning of reality and unreality, and its contrasts a bit more, a bit in a bit more depth, inshallah. Probably we should stop here today. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم رحمتك نرجو فلا تكلنا إلى أنفسنا طرفة عين وأصلح لنا شأننا كلها لا إله إلا أنت يا حي يا قيوم وأصلح لنا شأننا كله لا إله إلا أنت يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك نستغيث. اللهم اكفنا بهلالك عن حرامك واغننا بفضلك عمن سواك يا مولانا. اللهم فارج الهم كاشف الغم مجيب دعوة المضطرين رحمن الدنيا والآخرة ورحيمهما. اللهم أنت ترحمنا فارحمنا برحمة تغنينا بها عن رحمة من سواك. ربنا إننا آمنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وقنا عذاب النار ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. لبيك اللهم ربنا وسعديك صلوات الله البر الرحيم والملائكة المقربين والنبيين والصديقين والشهداء والصالحين وما سبح لك من شيء يا رب العالمين على سيدنا وحبيبنا وشفينا وطبيب قلوبنا وإمامنا محمد بن عبد الله خاتم النبيين وسيد المرسلين وإمام المتقين ورسول رب العالمين الشاهد البشير الداعي إليك بإذنك السراج المنير وعليه وعلى آله وصحبه وذريته أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. آمين آمين يا رب العالمين.